Hello guys and welcome to the weekend market breakdown. It's been quite a dry week again this week in terms of the amount of trades. For me, I could count really only about 3 valid trades that were around the time of my trading sessions. One of them admittedly was before my session began, so you know, if I'd seen it setting up at that time, I probably would have taken it, but I wasn't ready to trade at that point. Another one was after my session finished and literally just after, and you know, again, sometimes I'd still be at the computer. This time I wasn't, so bad luck, I guess. And then the third potential trade was one that I did get involved in, but I mismanaged it and ended up getting taken out for break even after moving my stop loss a little bit too aggressively before it then went on to hit the target, which is a shame, but it is what it is. There were also a couple of losses this week that I did take, meaning for me it was a negative week, even though the opportunities were there. If I had traded perfectly, it would have been a very positive week. So we have the data behind us already that the strategy works, implementation and being there, right place, right time, not perfected yet, but does it mean I'm going to change anything? No, it's just part of the process of learning or incorporating new things in trading. You're not going to be perfect straight away, so don't beat yourself up if you didn't catch the winning trades this week. Anyway, so if we get into the breakdown of the week, you can see what's happened is that, as anticipated for a while, we've actually got this weekly cemented candle here. So see, I also need to mark on that we did a couple of weeks ago get a weekly -1 break of structure, so I will just pop that in there, and you can see, yeah, we had this break up. First of all, we had a sweep of the weekly high. We didn't cement after that, and then we did actually break above the weekly high. It's not a very strong break because you can see that break closed still within that candle that swept, which could on some level make this low weak, but technically it is a valid break of structure there. Now the price is coming down, so the expectation would be to at least come to the discount now of this leg, which is down here, but we could see it come as low as the discount of the overall weekly here. But still, either way, see reactions long from down here would make sense. So even if it's just this kind of thing, we come down, get a reaction, and then that reaction takes us back to the premium of this leg down, and then that does end up pushing down here, and then we get that move. That could be something that happens. Alternatively, it could just push on like so. But that's all speculation. What we can confirm now is that we have had that cemented high, and that we will probably come slightly lower, if not a lot lower, from here. On the daily, what have we had? Well, as noted on Tuesday, the end of Tuesday, you can see we had the sweep of this high, and then after that we never closed above it, and we had the cement. The sweep, we had the cement. So as soon as this happened, what did we know? We knew that this low was weak and was going to go. So already at this point we should really have been focusing on sells rather than buys. And if I go back on my losses for this week, a lot of them, possibly actually all of them, were from trying to buy after this situation has occurred. So that's, you know, something I need to make a note of, because we knew that this low was very weak. This was the low that caused the sweep, and we had that cement against it. So we knew we needed to come deeper at least than this point before pushing up higher. So it didn't really make sense to take buys before breaking this low. We have this major leg of price. So the expectation as well. Now we've started this pullback after the sweep and we're coming down. We have this shock, change of character. Expectation should be to come into this discount. But what else do we know? We know that we've had a weekly cemented candle now. So what can we compare this to? Well, if you remember, on the weekly, from this low to this high was our -1 range. So on the daily, this low to this high is our major range. So it still makes sense, again, to justify strong reactions from this area, even if price does want to come all the way down here on the weekly, which we don't know yet, because our expectations only lead us to know that this is our current structure, this -1. We don't have strong reason to believe that this won't hold, but it very well might not. Okay, so, you know, we could still expect that holds strong reason for reactions from here based on structure. We can look within that, see what areas would be good for reactions. But yeah, if we come down here, form a 15-minute OP zone with a good footprint zone within it, we know if we're in this area that longs are more likely to play out. We have reason for that reaction based on structure, so it's another confluence to take longs if we're down here, because we have reason for price to at least give some sort of reaction. Okay, so it's these things you've got to add together. It's these things you can use and test and add to your plan if you want to increase your win rate and really just take trades in those zones that make sense. So by doing this kind of analysis, you can prevent future losses, exactly like I said at the start of this. You know, looking back, trying to take buys after sweep and cement on the daily when this weak low hadn't been taken yet is very suspect. So, you know, it's easy to forget these things. So that's why for me it helps to do these weekend market breakdowns. I don't just do these for you guys, it really helps me. So if we look at what's going on the 4 hour, we can see we've had the sweep over here and the cement which occurred here, and I went through this the other week, but you can see that low got taken. It's just more, again, going over the sweep and cement concept, just on a smaller scale. So we had sweep, low that caused the sweep, weak, taken. Sweep of that low, what high caused the sweep of the low? This one, next candle, taken that high. Again, we got a sweep of this high and a cement. What low caused the sweep of this high? This one. And that was eventually taken. So we can really see the power of how these sweeps and cements cause weak highs and lows. Okay, and they really do show that weakness. Again, here, price swept this high, cemented here. We knew at this point this low was weak. What does price do? It comes down, it takes that low. So you get these early warning signs that if you're looking to buy in this range at all, as price is coming down, you're gonna get taken. It's silly to look for buys. Okay, sell, sell, sell. So that's kind of the 4 hour. And how is the 4 hour looking overall? Well, we've had a major bearish break of structure, high probability for 4 hour bearishness. As we know, price gives its first signs on the lower time frames, of course, and then that goes on through to the higher time frames. So if we look at this leg of price, this is that daily, or would be that daily major range from this low, I believe, to the high. So we have this, and then within that, there's some 4 hour stuff going on. Now, if we consider the 4 hour, just purely based on structure, we can see that we had this leg of price. That was mitigated to the discount, but you can also see that we tapped just this imbalance to the left. So we didn't really tap a valid zone. We do see that we do have a valid zone, a nice 4 hour OP zone in what is the discount of this 4 hour major leg, as well as the overall daily major, or whatever it is, leg here. So this is quite a nice area to look at, and it'll be interesting to see if there's anything valid on the footprint in there. It does make sense as an area. If we go back further, we can see that there was this previous major range here that was mitigated to discount, and it did tap a valid zone. So we could see that price will either tap into something in this leg that's valid and go, or if it comes lower down to this area, it's actually less likely to have a reaction to zones in here, because this major leg at the start was mitigated validly. So this is a strong area for it to go from. If it comes down here, yes, you may get reactions from these areas, but overall, I would say it's likely to actually break this low and come lower, and that would probably be the first sign we get that price is actually going to come down to this weekly minor discount. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of the 4 hour. We can go through briefly. You know, as always, the 15-minute is a little messier because of all these colourful lines we have now. If we look through the week we've just had, Monday the 8th of May, we can see that the very first trade of the week, the one that I missed, was this perfect entry here, and I believe I've done a case study on this already. You go to the case studies channel. But you can see that we tapped in perfectly. We provided inducement, tapped into this zone down here, and pushed up. Now, this was from Monday, so if we go back to the daily, it wasn't until Tuesday that we cemented the high after the sweep. So there was no knowledge at this point, or this low was not yet weak, which is why buys were more valid at this time, because we hadn't had the sweep in cement, we just had the sweep. So something to note there as to why this buy was valid, but maybe later on after Tuesday, buys were not so valid. Tuesday, looks like there was a trade in the morning here at the sweep of the Frankfurt Open, and then price tapped in down here. It was low impact news, and then pushed up to this liquidity point, and yeah, the trade played out. So that was another nice entry on Tuesday. And again, it was the close of the Tuesday candle that confirmed the cementation. So you can see at the end of Tuesday was when we knew that the low was weak. So again, buys still valid at this point. It was on Wednesday that buys became invalid. There was a loss here, as well as a potential loss here. And Wednesday, I did a live session, and you may remember that there were 2 losses taken here. Now, as stated before, they were buys, okay? And taking buys after we'd swept on the daily and cemented the high was a bit silly. Now, I will admit that on live calls, I kind of feel a little bit more pressured to do something more active while trading, so taking the loss, I may have thought more about it if we weren't live on YouTube, but that's just how it is. I like to I'm an entertainer, for God's sake. Anyway, so yeah, buys kind of sus in this area. We then Wednesday had CPI, which was this just huge bullish candle out of kind of nowhere, and as you can see in terms of Asia highs, we'd left behind this Asia high here on the Tuesday. What did CPI do? Smashed up, took the liquidity from that, had a reaction, pushed back up, took the high of the day, and then price had all it needed in order to smash down. Now, again, during the Asia session, there was a really nice footprint zone in this OP zone here, and this took liquidity as well. So this was really high probability area. Unfortunately, it just wasn't at a time that I would trade. But if you were to have gotten in that would be obviously a very nice move down, but I haven't included that as a missed trade because, you know, I just wouldn't be taking things at that hour. And again on Thursday, this was the trade I fumbled, so stupid again. If we look at this, let's take out of, it was a nice sell. Again, sells more high probable after cementing the daily and tapping in to price. A nice, so we had an OP zone formed here. We cemented the high with this candle, footprint zone in this candle, price tapped in. This was the low you would target, and then you can see price just took that TP for pushing back up. So yeah, personally I messed this one up because I moved my stop loss down to like here. Price came out, tapped me out with a spread before pushing down, which was a bit of a shame. Moving along, again, nothing really New York. And then Friday, there was really not a lot on Friday. Again, in terms of areas to trade from, buys still not of the highest probability because we had that weak low here at that point. If we mark that on, you can see where that was taken. And it was actually taken on Thursday. So to be fair, Friday we could have seen longs. So not too bad to take longs on the Friday. So you can see after that weak low was taken, we did have a reaction. But overall, if we again look at structure on the 15 minute, what were we? We'd broken the major low. We created minor 15 minute structure here. We came back up, we came into the premium of that minor and then pushed down. So again, if we look at this logically in terms of structure, we've create this minor leg, we're in this minor range. Now, at this point, price comes up here. Is it still logical, especially here, price comes up here, taps into this OP zone. Is it still logical to look for longs in terms of structure? Come down, come into this zone, valid zone, push down, cemented. Doesn't really make sense to look for longs anymore. Now, unfortunately, there were no real short opportunities within this as we push down, but as I say, certainly cuts out losses if you were to just eliminate looking at longs in scenarios like this when we're clearly bearish, and clearly this is the trend we're going in, and we've mitigated this valid zone. So going forward now, if we look to the left, we also can have a look at what we've now taken, and you can see that it's there was an Asia low sat over here that was left unswept over here. So we knew at some point, once price started to move down heavily, this was probably the target, as well as this low of the day down here. So go back to the daily, see where we've ended up. You can see this was the week low from the sweep and cement, and within here, this area, we had Asia liquidity to be taken, and now we are in kind of the extreme of that area, and possibly going to get reactions from here, but more likely we'll get reactions from a little bit lower down in this daily discount area. So going forward, I would say, yeah, it makes more sense to start looking at long opportunities now. Again, just noticed, if we look at this area where we marked that 4 hour, this is actually an untaken Asia low. So this was the one we marked, wasn't it? Is that the one that's... Yeah, sorry. So that is Asia liquidity, more Asia liquidity there. So actually I would rather be looking at zones down here. And we can see that, you know, we may have something down here because this area took Asia liquidity. So this makes more sense to be a strong zone, as well as, you know, other areas below this Asia. But we can look in more detail at those and see what happens basically after price takes this. These areas, sorry, not this, takes this. So we'll just mark that on as Asia liquidity, and we'll have it'll be a further magnet that price is drawn to. So, you know, we'll have a look in here as well. There may be something price reacts to from these areas, but yeah, we can kind of wait and see what structure gives us. Okay, so yeah, lots to look at. There's more of a focus on structure and things in this video, and I hope it was helpful. And yeah, again, any questions you may have, let me know.